Hello and welcome to the Managing Madrid Podcast, the post-El Clasico post-mortem edition. We are about 45 minutes after the final whistle. I'm joined by Lucas Navarrete, our main man, who is making a rare podcast appearance. Lucas, I don't know where to start with this, but we got to start somewhere. Maybe you can just tell me, first of all, welcome to the show. Second of all, how do you feel after this? What's your initial reaction?
Hello, Kiyan. Nice to be here. Nice to be back. Well, first of all, I'd like to say that Real Madrid needed a win and ended up having Keylor Navas as the man of the match for them. So that pretty much sums it all up. So it was a terrible performance. The first half was decent. It was okay. Barcelona also had their chances in the first half, but I don't know what happened in the second half. The team just started really, really bad during the first 10 or 15 minutes, and then obviously the red card to Carvajal pretty much ruined it all.
It's a bit inexplicable, isn't it? Like, we try to do our best to dissect this season and all the things that have gone wrong, and in some ways, no one can explain why an elite player like Toni Kroos or Modric just misplaces an easy pass. Like, the amount of times that Ronaldo or Benzema or someone made a run and would have been through on goal if Kroos plays a good pass, there was at least 3 times in the second half where, for whatever reason, everybody in the team coming out of the back just couldn't make a pass. Modric, Kroos, Kovacic holding onto the ball for too long. The wingbacks, just easy passes, elite players. I'm not sure if I understand why that happens, but it's been happening a lot, and it happened a lot this second half especially.
Yeah, it's been happening, and the worst thing is that people will keep saying that Real Madrid played well during the first 45 minutes and maybe even deserve to be ahead on the scoreboard and all, but they'll forget that Barcelona also have 2 very good chances to score in the first half. I mean, let's not. Of course, it was better than the second half, but the first half wasn't as great as some people might remember it after the second 45 minutes. So it was yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it was a disaster of a second half, of course, but the first half wasn't as brilliant as it should have been, considering that Madrid needed to win.
Yeah, I think you're bang on. I think the first half wasn't brilliant. It was also not a disaster. It was just like respectable.
Yeah. Of course, it was okay.
Yeah,
it was okay. At least it was okay. We had our chances. Barcelona did too, but it's not like we dominated the first half and ended up missing some key opportunities while Barcelona dominated the second and converted their own chances. No, it wasn't like that. Barcelona also had their chances in the first half. We did it on the second.
If we start from the beginning, like, we can even go back to yesterday when we saw the squad, the Real Madrid squad, and you and I both love Ceballos, and in some ways, while the discussion can start there, it absolutely doesn't even matter. Like, Ceballos, whether he's in or not, there's no way he's coming on in this game.
Yeah, of course.
Especially the way it unfolds. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's fair.
The starting lineup threw everyone off guard. In my eyes, I was okay with it because I thought, Kovacic, in past Clásicos, he's looked great. He looks to help defensively. When you have a packed midfield like that, it's almost a safety net defensively because you have 4 central midfielders who all know how to defend, who all are very good in terms of their vertical passing and creating chances. I was shocked in the second half how none of that existed. Like,
yeah, the whole game plan changed.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I mean, Kovacic just stopped pressing. Like, he started caring only about Messi when the first half he was pretty much commanding Real Madrid's pressing and Barcelona recovering the ball on their own third of the pitch, and defensively it was okay. And then Kovacic dropped. I don't know why. Zidane probably changed that, and of course Barcelona started controlling the ball. The first 10 minutes of the second half, and forget about the goal, forget about the red card to Carvajal. The first 10 minutes of the second half were pretty much embarrassing.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, no, you're right. And it wasn't just about. Okay, Barcelona made a decision to hold the ball a bit better. I think Valverde said after the game, what was the difference? And he said essentially that they were able to get past Real Madrid's initial press. And then once they got there was all kinds of space to work with, which we saw. It was a horror show. Like, It was actually, I felt like every time Barcelona had the ball, they're going to create a chance. That's what it felt like.
Yeah, and about Kovacic, people will say that Kovacic played great against Barcelona in the in the Spanish Super Cup, and of course he pretty much controlled Messi and defended very well. But Casemiro wasn't playing in that game. Isco was. I mean, it wasn't the same system. Zidane didn't go for the same system which worked when Madrid took care of Barcelona in the Super Cup. This is not the same system he used back then. I think you have to start Isco in this game. If you want to start Kovacic, of course he's not going to drop Casemiro. We know he's not going to drop Casemiro, Zidane is. So, but I think Isco has to start this game. I have some interesting data here. Real Madrid have played 7 Clásicos without Isco in the starting 11. They've lost 5, 2 wins, and 5 Clásicos played with Isco in the starting 11. Just 1 loss, just 1 draw, and 3 wins.
I think you and I are on the same page on many things and not on the same page on some others. I think the one thing we're on the same page on is we both believe the team can survive just fine without Casemiro. And that doesn't mean Casemiro is a bad player. He does the things that Casemiro does.
You need this player on the roster, but that doesn't mean you need to build a system around him.
Right. So I think if you're looking to implement someone like Kovacic in this game, which we've seen Real Madrid put Kovacic in without Casemiro and the team has no drop-off defensively. We've seen that happen in Clasico. We've seen that happen against Atletico, and Kovacic just looked fine. And that would have allowed you to insert a player like Isco.
Yeah.
To me,
absolutely.
Lucas, although the team looked okay in the first half defensively, the shape was good. Second half was a black hole. That's another debate altogether. The second half was a disaster. The first half, I thought we looked okay defensively. I thought one thing we lacked, Lucas, was offensively. When we had the chance to counterattack, I had no idea where the goal was going to come from still, because Ronaldo.
Of course. I mean, you're right. I mean, we counterattacked, and Ronaldo was the only one pretty much, charging forward. He was pretty much the only player. We know Benzema is not fast.
Exactly.
He's the one launching the counterattack, passing the ball to Cristiano Ronaldo. But then Cristiano Ronaldo by himself against 3 players, that's not going to work.
And then oftentimes you had this situation where Cruz was the guy in your counterattack. He was high up the pitch on the left, and he's not the type of player who will beat a man and make something happen. So whether I know you think it's Isco, and I think Isco would have helped a lot with this. But whether it's Isco, whether it's Bale or Asensio, you essentially need at least one of those 3 to kind of string the counterattack together. And that was what I thought we were missing.
I don't even think Isco would be particularly useful in those situations. But of course, Bale or Asensio will be, because they're fast. They can beat their men both with the ball and off the ball. Isco can. I mean, Isco is the one to keep possession of the ball and just dominate. But if you want to play counterattack, you need either Bale or Asensio starting. Of course, Kovacic is also fast, but he's not the one who's going to score on a counterattack.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's essentially what the problem was, because if Bale seemed fit, I don't understand this idea if he's fit or not to play. He's clearly fit. He's in the squad. He's played the last 3 games off the bench, so he was fit. So I think the surprise was I think we all kind of knew Bale would come off the bench, and that's fine. I'm really surprised that Isco wasn't in this game. And again, I'm being a bit hypocritical, because when I looked at the starting lineup, I was like, okay, this is fine. I think this will work. But I think the issue I had mostly with it was that we were suffering so much in the second half. It was clearly a disaster, and it was insanity how bad we were. And
the first 10 minutes.
I think Zidane reacted too late for me.
That's tough. I mean, that's a tough call, because when he was trying to react, then the penalty came. Of course, the red card. People will criticize. Of course, you need 2 goals to at least get the draw, but and you put Nacho in. It's a tough call. I mean, I think he was about to put both Bale and Asensio in before the penalty, and then of course it all pretty much it doesn't even matter after that penalty and the red card. The first 10 minutes, it's tough also to make a substitution in the 53rd or 54th minute. Of course, Barcelona was dominated already even before they scored their first goal, but it's also very tough to make a substitution that early in the second half. I'm not blaming Zidane for that, to be honest.
One of the things that drove me nuts, and maybe this is the NBA fan in me to kind of react like this, but when Bale and Asensio were getting ready to come on, it seemed like it took them 10 decades to come on. And that was because Barcelona had no urgency and they were trying to keep the ball and make sure it doesn't go out of play. So Real doesn't make this. In my head, I was thinking, my God, just foul or something. Do something.
Yeah.
Get the ball out of play. Get these two in there. Because even though...
But it didn't even matter anymore, Kiyan. I mean,
yeah, but come on, you
try to, of course, you try to fight, not to give up and all that, but it didn't even matter anymore. You're 2-0 behind and you're down to 10 men, so
yeah, but
it didn't even matter.
We've seen Real Madrid play really good in the Clasico with 10 men. Like, this is a sad thing, that we're so used to playing with 10 men in the Clasico that we've actually learned how to do it somehow. Like this is like.
Yeah, that's right.
Somehow we looked better with 10 men in the second half when Bale and Asensio came on. So at least to me there had to have been some urgency or reaction, which I'm not sure there was, because even when Real Madrid did get the ball, they gave it back immediately to Barcelona, and it was just this horror show of a cycle. I felt like I was watching a horror movie in the second half. That's what I felt like.
Yeah, no. To be honest, the whole match was pretty bad. Not only about Real Madrid. The first half of football, it wasn't like very joyful to watch or entertainment or anything like that. I mean, the whole match I think was pretty mediocre. But yeah, about Zidane's reaction, I think it's tough. I'm not blaming him. He probably knew that it was all lost, even though you always have to keep your hopes up and all that. But it didn't even matter anymore.
Marca put out this graphic on Twitter saying that the first goal conceded was Kovacic's fault. So when I was looking at that defensive sequence, which was it's like Real Madrid just opened up. You kind of notice Kovacic has two options. One is he can close down Rakitic. The other is he can cut off the pass to Messi. So he cuts off the pass to Messi, which probably at that moment was the right decision. I think the problem was it was hard for me to understand what was happening after that, because Kovacic then has the opportunity to run to get Rakitic to close him down.
Yeah, he stopped.
But he stopped. Yeah, he stopped. And he was jogging back.
Yeah, I don't know if it was the Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was the plan to just pretty much man-mark Messi there.
Yeah.
I don't know. If we knew it was the plan, then Kovacic made the right call, but he had to keep going once Rakitic beat him. So probably, of course, in right now it looks like it was the wrong decision to to just take care of Messi and let Rakitic go. Of course, Rakitic is slower. He's not as as good as Messi of a player, to be honest. So maybe that's what Kovacic thought, and right now it looks like it was wrong. I think he really had to hustle when Rakitic beat him, but he probably thought that Varane and Ramos were going to stop him.
Yeah, I guess the point is that whether Kovacic made the right or wrong call in that moment, which he has to make a quick decision and make a judgment call. It's bizarre that Real Madrid were even in that position that Kovacic needed to decide that. Like, you have a packed midfield with also Casemiro, Kroos, and Modric there. Yeah. Where were they? I didn't understand that part. That was what made no sense to me.
It was Kroos who turned the ball over that time, right? I mean, I don't even remember if it wasn't Kroos.
Let's jump into some questions for the last 10 minutes that we have here, Lucas. These questions are for patrons, so again, you already know this by now, listeners. But if you like this show, you want to pledge, you want to support us, you can go to patreon.com/Managing Madrid. Among the many rewards you can receive, one is a guaranteed answer to your question. So, Sayantan Nandi says, "Can someone tell Real Madrid to buy a effing striker who can score goals? I am tired of this link-up play bullshit. La Liga is surely over for us so early in the season, isn't it? And what was the whole team doing during the first goal?" So we've already talked about the first goal, but I mean, essentially the other question is, Santan is asking, is the league over?
Yeah, I think it is, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, you're 14 points behind. Of course, you got one game to play, but it's over. It's over because, I mean, Real Madrid are not going to win every game during the second half of La Liga.
No.
Of course, Barcelona will drop points. Maybe they'll even drop 11, 10 points, but Real Madrid will too.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, if people look at it as 11 points, but it's or 14 points or whatever, and they kind of do the math and say, if we win this game, that game, and all these games, we'll be fine. But then that doesn't include the fact that you're not going to be invincible for every game you play in.
Exactly.
The striker issue, do you want to talk about Karim today, or are you kind of sick with that subject?
Well, I don't think he's to blame. Again, I think he's been pretty much the scapegoat here. He goes out and people whistle. Kovacic, who is a player I love, goes out and people, give him pretty much a standing ovation. I don't know why. This is what you get from Benzema. You passed on Mbappe on the summer, and I don't think you need to spend hundreds of millions of euros on Icardi or whoever. Alexis Sanchez will be a good option. He will be cheap and all, but I don't think you are going to rescue this season by signing a striker in winter. I mean, La Liga is over. Whether you sign Alexis, Icardi, whoever you sign, La Liga is over anyway.
I don't think there's any chance we sign anybody in the winter time for this position.
I don't think so. And I think it's the right call, to be honest. I mean, the Inter are going to try to sell Icardi for 120 million, and you passed on Mbappe for 150. So what's the point of, pushing the panic button right now and just sign Icardi, who is a great player, of course. But if you passed on Mbappe, why would you sign Icardi for a bit less of a price?
That is actually an interesting perspective to have. It's a good perspective to have.
And I think, to be honest, here about Benzema, about the topic about Benzema, I think we need to talk about Cristiano Ronaldo for a little bit. I mean, we talk so much about Benzema and about the goals he misses and about all this, but we know he's not a scorer. I mean, we know he's not a pure striker. And the one who is right now not achieving the numbers he was putting on for the last couple of seasons is Ronaldo, not Benzema. Benzema is pretty much, of course, with 3 or 4 more goals here and there, he would be pretty much in the same numbers he was getting for the last 4 or 5 seasons. But Cristiano Ronaldo isn't.
I don't think either have been efficient, really. With Benzema, I think for a lot of the season, he's done a lot of good things with the ball. In transition, he was probably the best player on counterattack today, but he just didn't score. He had a great chance, and he just didn't connect in the first half.
Yeah, but you cannot blame him for that chance miss. I mean, that was a very tough chance to score.
I don't know. All it took was to connect with it, I thought. But, maybe those are the standards they have of Ronaldo at this point, where I just expect him to pull that shit out of his ass. But I don't know. To be honest, my leash with Benzema has been getting shorter and shorter. I don't even think he's to blame today, but I also, whether it's his fault or not, he hasn't. I don't know if he's been. I don't think he's been at the level we need a player at that position to be right now. Especially with Ronaldo not scoring.
Yeah, but that can be said about pretty much every player on this roster, but Modric and Keylor Navas today. Only Modric and Navas performed decently today.
But to me, this is just a bigger reason to play that player that you needed to play today. Because when your team is lacking in terms of just scoring clear-cut chances like it has been this season, your other 2-3 players who can finish and score goals are Bale, Asensio, and Isco. Like, if you look at their expected goals and the goals they scored, they have the best ratios on the team. And neither of them were in the starting lineup to kind of compensate for Real Madrid just missing so many chances. Like, are we really surprised that they missed chances today? You can't just based on the sample size we've seen this season.
Exactly. No, that's totally fair. Yeah, of course Benzema has to play better, and he needs to convert more chances than what he's doing right now. But I think some of the focus should be on Cristiano Ronaldo as well. Not every, not the whole blame is on Cristiano Ronaldo. I mean, the team performed so badly today. The team has so many problems that you cannot point out and say, bench Benzema, we will be better. People were saying that Isco was the main reason why Real Madrid were struggling this season. And when Isco wasn't playing, Real Madrid, I think Isco didn't play against Sevilla, and Madrid won 5-0 or something like that. And they say, oh, look, the team works really well without Isco. Well, see what happens without Isco today. I mean, there are so many issues right now that one player should not be the one to blame.
Yeah, I think that is a crazy reaction given that what we've seen Isco do to round out the last season. He was unbelievable. Against Juve, going on all the list against Bayern, he was key. And then I think the issue is that a lot of fans have this thought in their head where they blame certain players for certain things, but refuse to ignore the whole scheme and the ideology, the tactical things, the things that are put forward on the pitch by the manager. To me, a lot of the issues we've had this season have been schematic and tactical rather than one player.
I agree.
Christopher McCormick says, I'm at a complete loss for words from this loss. We locked down Barcelona in the first half, controlled the game, had 2 chances to score, Ronaldo missed kick and Benzema's header off the post, which, by the way, Christopher didn't say this, but I think the statistic is Benzema's hit the post 7 times this season, which is crazy. And then Christopher says, we then came out in the second half, cede possession, watch Rakitic run to the back line, and then, as we have done time and time again, lose it completely. It sums up our season, fucking nightmare. Excuse my language. Barca are turning into post-Di Stefano Madrid in some ways. Instead of getting worse, they've maintained their level, and their rivals are the ones who have gotten worse. After the Di Stefano retirement, Madrid have won 8 league titles in 8 years. Shout out to Anton Hackberg, who I believe just got that shit show for his first ever Clasico. Anton is one of our patrons who attended the game today. So, I don't know. The only thing I can take away from this, it's not really a question, Lucas, but it is really, like, if you put you and I to sleep, someone froze us after the Super Cup and then brought us back to life or woke us now in December after this game, and you saw the position of both teams, what would you be thinking? Like, you'd be shocked.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we were thinking that Barcelona were done. They were not going to win anything until they completely rebuild their team. And the whole Madrid era was going to begin, and we were ready to keep winning double after double and all that, and and this is what happens. I think this is the main reason why the team is struggling. I think both the team and the fans thought too well. I mean, thought that the job was done, and there was no need of signings or anything like that, because this team was so good already. The players probably did too. The players probably felt like they are so good that they can take care of Barcelona and United, and this self-complacency is dangerous, and it's happened to Real Madrid many times in the past.
Anton Hackberg says, do you think we should rest our players in La Liga matches now and go all out for the Champions League?
No, but you cannot do that, because then they arrive to the key matches in the Champions League out of form, and without momentum, without confidence, without anything. So I mean, you cannot do that week in and week out. Of course, you need to start making some rotations ahead of the matches against PSG, of course. But if you are planning to just rest the players and start playing the reserves week in and week out, then the starters start losing even more confidence. So I don't think you can do that in La Liga.
I also think it's a bit naive to think that Zidane would even do that anyway, because
he's not going.
Like, look, he said it. He says it in all the press conference. He said it. He's saying it now live. He's talking right now as we're recording, and he's saying it's not over. And he said that before the game. He said whether we lose or win, the league's not over. And I actually think, Lucas, he truly believes that. He's not even just trying to put a face on. This is a manager who he came in and cut a 10-point deficit to 1 or something in his first season halfway through. Whether we believe it or not, he believes it.
Yeah, it's not that Barcelona have been brilliant either this season. They are very solid. They are a very solid team, but they will drop points. But the thing is, Madrid have no reason to believe that they won't. Madrid will drop points as well because they are not playing well. So
they have. I mean, Barcelona has holes. We saw the holes today.
yeah, definitely.
Our counter attack was a disaster. We just if again, I really think if we had that player like Bale or Isco, probably Bale especially, this would have been different. There's a lot. The margins of error are so small in this game. Like one miss here affects the whole game. There were chances. I think the problem is overall how many teams in La Liga can exploit this weakness of Barcelona. It's not many. There's like a handful of them, and Valencia was one. They took 2 points. Okay, Atletico took 2 points. How many more teams, if you go down the list, can do damage against them this season? Just a lot of points to make up. Last question.
Yeah. Too many.
Dimitri says, my question for the podcast, why do you think Zidane is being so hard-headed and creating the same tactics over and over? Is it him doing it, or is it the president putting pressure on him too? Because Madrid keeps on pushing their wing backs and leaving us exposed on counters like we saw with the first goal. This is a long question, but essentially the question is, why haven't we basically remedied this issue of sending so many players forward and leaving ourselves exposed?
Yeah, I think a change is due tactically. I think Zidane has to at least try. He's not the one to blame. I mean, I want to repeat it, but I think he has to try how Modric, Kroos, and Kovacic work in a three-man midfield without Casemiro. I think week in and week out, I don't think you need Casemiro against the lesser teams in La Liga. I think he's a very useful player against elite teams like PSG. You need to start Casemiro against PSG probably, but at least you need to try this new system, especially when it works so well in the Super Cup against Barcelona with Kovacic. I mean, Kovacic proved he can play defensive midfield. So I think you need to at least try that.
And it wasn't just a Super Cup. Like if anyone says, no, well, it was a Super Cup, it doesn't matter. It's not the same level. But go back to last year's Clasico in the Camp Nou, was it last year when Ramos scored the equalizing header late?
Yeah.
That game, Kovacic started without Casemiro, and he was one of his best. That was one of his best games. In the Calderon last season, he started with Casemiro, one of his best games. I have no doubt he.
Yeah, he played that position. He played that position in Italy. I mean, Italy, very, very tactically sounded league, and he played there in defensive midfield for Inter. Of course, that Inter wasn't a successful team, but he excelled in that position. I think he at least has to try playing Kovacic behind Kroos and Modric.
It's not going to happen, though.
Maybe even Marcos Llorente. I don't know why.
I honestly, if unless Casemiro is injured or suspended, it's so. For me, it's so far away.
Yeah, it's not going to happen, of course. Yeah, it's like saying that he needs to drop Benzema. Zidane has proven time and time again that he's not going to bench Benzema. He's proven time and time again that he's not going to drop Casemiro, but I think at least he has to try.
Again, I don't know. I feel like this is the most I've reacted after a bad game. But to me, this wasn't one of those games where fans sometimes say, "Oh, tell us to calm, bring some calm to us. Tell us everything's going to be okay. Tell us all the good things that happen. Are we overreacting?" This is one of the few games I feel like I'm not overreacting. I really today the second half was such a nightmare. And not only the fact that we lost, it was the manner that we lost. It was the bad decision making. It was a lack of urgency. It was preventable, entirely preventable, and this was just one of those games where you really shot yourself in the foot.
Yeah, but it's been like this for quite some time already. Mm-hmm. I mean, of course, the second half, it hurts a little bit more because it's Barcelona, because La Liga is over, but Real Madrid have played this poorly for a while now.
You're right. I mean, we've had alarm bells. We've had warning signs all season. Okay, Lucas, any concluding thoughts before we let you go?
No, I pretty much said it all. I think players like Marcos Llorente, Kovacic, Ceballos, Asensio need to be unleashed, need to at least be tried, to see if the team gets some more energy. But I don't think it's going to happen in the bigger games. So
I agree with you. I think, just to add one more thing, and feel free to jump in and disagree or agree or whatever, but
Okay.
I think there are two players in the Once de Gala that we would survive without and probably improve the flow of our team defensively, offensively. One is Casemiro, and the other one is Benzema. And
Yeah, I agree.
I
Yeah.
would love to insert Kovacic and Bale for those two and have a scheme where we see Bale, Ronaldo, and Isco, Modric, Kroos, Kovacic in a big game.
Yeah.
I'm dying for that to happen.
Yeah, I completely agree with that because I mean Ancelotti proved that a midfield with Kroos playing as a defensive midfielder can work, and I think Kovacic can even play that position better than Kroos. So
yeah, I'm with you. Okay, Lucas Navarrete, thank you so much. I'm sorry that your podcast debut after so long was after a game like this, but it's always nice to hear your perspective and your wisdom, and people have been asking for it. So we hope to see you more often on the show.
yeah, we'll try, Kiyan. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, and Hala Madrid.
Hala Madrid.